me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, audience introductions. We'll start at the back.
I'm Steve with H&K.
Welcome, Steve.
I'm Rex Squires with Mid-Columbia Bus.
Welcome, Rick.
Brian Schubert, also with Mid-Columbia Bus.
Welcome, Brent.
Paul Chamberlain with H&K.
Hi, Paul.
Alex Graber.
Jessica King. Thanks for being here, ladies. Okay, this is the time for delegation of visitors, and it doesn't look like anybody signed up to speak. Has anybody changed their mind?
We wanted to do
Approval of
agenda.
Oh, did I skip it? Okay, let's approve the agenda. Is there changes to the agenda? Should we change the name right now, Dan?
Yes, if that's all right, down on 8C, where it says RFP CMGC, it should actually read alternative contracting method, CMGC. And then I did not know if we wanted to talk about the work session that we had on Saturday, either under 7 or 8, that would be up to the board. If we wanted to have a discussion, and spoke with Trina earlier today about the idea of maybe we have somewhat of a conversation now, but maybe we have a longer conversation like on Wednesday evening or something, if that's something that, we have a lot of items tonight, I understand that. So that may be something that we want to do, is maybe we're looking at information for the board tonight, or maybe it goes into board action. That's going to be up to you folks on where you want to take, or possibly like that.
Let's put it as 7C.
Okay.
Spend just a few minutes on it.
Sounds good.
Is everybody okay with that? What are you calling it? Are you calling it paradigm? Is that what we're going to say, or?
Yeah, that would be great. Paradigm discussion, I guess.
And I move to approve the agenda with the noted changes.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda with noted changes. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Okay, back to the visitors. Is there anybody that wanted to speak that didn't sign up? Okay. So we'll move into swearing in our new board member, Katie Fast. Welcome, Katie.
Are you ready? Yeah. All right. Let me get my cheat sheet. Okay, I wonder if you have the same one.
She did.
I didn't give it to her.
I gave her one.
Oh,
Does she have yours?
yes.
Okay. Then you have the same one.
All right, so we'll just go through this a little at a time, okay? So I state your name. I, Katie Fast, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
That I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and the laws of Oregon,
the Constitution and the laws of Oregon,
and the policies of Perrydale School District.
and the policies of Perrydale School District.
During my term,
During my term,
I will faithfully and impartially
I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the responsibilities of the office
discharge the responsibilities of the office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Katie. Okay, item 5, election of board positions. Yeah, let's start with chair. Anybody want to volunteer?
I would like to nominate Trina Comerford for chair.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I will gladly serve as the board chair again.
Thank you.
Vice chair?
I would like to nominate Brian Kohlmeyer for vice chair.
I will gladly second that. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just 'cause I can.
Just because you can.
Because it wouldn't matter
Cindy, it's
anyway.
noted 4-1. That just means more delegation of responsibilities. Thank you, Brian.
Yes, thank you. You guys are great leaders here. Thank you.
All right, item 6, our consent agenda. This is for the board minutes from last month, the bills and AP check number and school profile. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes unanimously. Item 7A, spotlight on education.
Yeah, so this actually is off of what Christie had written in there. It actually got put under the elementary admin reports, but we just wanted to, we often say, what do our kids do after they get out of school? And we made mention of it last time, but we really started thinking about all the number of students that we have that have graduated from here and their impact on our summer program, which we could have done without them. And so I think it's, Christie, if you want to kind of talk about it.
Oh, sure. So we have 6 returning Perrydale grads who are helping with summer school. And I don't know if you guys have already noticed them, but Hannah Halleck is teaching kindergarten. Caitlin Gallagher is working with our SPED kiddos. Haley Smith is one of our instructional aides. Naomi Cruikshank is helping us, coming back, helping with the kindergarten group, preschool incoming kindergarten group. Kelsey Beggs has come back to help with subbing. And Kirk Fairchild is teaching 4th grade. So it's been kind of nice. They've also really enjoyed seeing each other on campus. So it's been kind of fun to see them reconnect as well.
And Kirk actually, as we talked about before, just took a job at Oak Ridge High School to work with their ag program. And he's actually done a switch where he's helping out the high school kids construct a shed that is for displaced veterans, I believe it is, that we had a drop off that was over there, you may have seen by the shop. And they're building that right now. And I know your daughter was working on it earlier today, I saw her. And your kids were working on it, et cetera. So we have our students that are working on that. Kirk's been working with them as they've been working on the project there. So it's nice to be able to get them over there with the high school kids as well.
To add to that, Hannah Halleck has accepted a position at Salem Kaiser for next school year, teaching kindergarten. And then something interesting, Caitlin Gallagher and Haley Smith, through their experience working here, have both shown interest and are possibly going to be going back to school to do a 2-year program to finish up other schooling they've already done, where Western University and Pacific will work with the school to help them get their hours while they're doing classes so they can be working and schooling at the same time to get their teaching licenses. And then
It's made an
Naomi,
impact on the kids, I
Oh,
want you to
for
know,
sure.
because my kids have just raved about these older kids that they remember coming in and
yes.
doing reading buddies with or whatever, and Mom, they're back, and so.
Right, and
it's
seeing
been
that they're back in a lot of different ways.
great.
Naomi is part of the ed program, or getting ready to be part of the ed program as a Western student. Of course, she spoke about Kirk, and then Kelsey graduated Oregon State and has her emergency sub license to be able to sub with her bachelor's. So it's a good variety. Fun to see them back.
It's fun to have them around.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely is, and it also the second part of the spotlight, and I talked about summer school, but again, just on the reviews that we've had so far. I know, Jen, if you could actually speak to it a little bit, you said you had a friend in the neighboring district, we don't have to say who, but just comparing their product to ours, I think is
She just
pretty-
was really disappointed. They had done all this planning, got parents involved and stuff to do all this planning, and it's just not happening. And so they were supposed to, so basically every day is like an art day. And so her kids are begging her, God, can I just not go today, because it's not turning out to be what they thought it was going to. And so I just, oh my goodness, the gratitude just overwhelms me sometimes with what you guys are doing for our kids, and the planning that went into it, in these high schoolers coming back that have graduated. I can't call them high schoolers anymore, but you know, you guys have just done an amazing job with putting this up and the amount of time that you had. And I know Lorraine and April have kind of been on your team there too. And so you guys have a great, and I've been corrected so many times, summer camp, not summer school, so
I tell my
program.
kids that every day at house.
It's not camp, I mean, it's not school, it's camp, so. But well done.
But yeah, thank you. When I heard that the other day, it was good to hear. Again, the only school I know that's doing a longer program is Fall City, and they're doing 6 weeks instead of 7. And many of the programs are only doing 2 or 3 hours a
They
day.
are, and that was another thing she was really disappointed with, is you can hardly even do anything because it wasn't enough time to get there and do anything, so.
And the good part with the wraparound daycare services also,
Exactly,
we've been able to have about 20 kids in the morning, about 20 kids in the afternoon,
that's great.
is what I heard today. I even texted some of the helpers that work there in the morning and afternoon, and that's what they said, about 20 each section.
Mhm.
So it's been a good turnout. We're at about 140, correct, stuff? So to have that many kids is pretty fantastic. So,
Another
Right, even
benefit
my-
of being small, we've been able to pull something off that the bigger districts just couldn't in that time frame.
I know,
Yeah, it's outstanding.
it is.
Even our truck drivers have asked me about, they'll say, what's going on at the school? Why is there so many kids? There's kids there all day. Why do you guys have so many kids in the summertime at school?
they're all in trouble.
I'm like,
Yeah,
summer camp.
right? But they love it.
Serving their duties? That would be my kids. No, they're summer camp.
But it's just been a really good opportunity for our kids, and appreciative of the staff that were, able to come back and work this summer. Some people had some school they had to do, et cetera, weren't able to do it. But, I was driving by McMinimans in Forest Road yesterday, and it's like now hiring cooks, like everywhere, every place is hiring.
Everybody, yeah.
But now hiring cooks, $1,000 sign-up bonus.
Wow.
So, if you're looking for a quick $1,000, everybody. Go to McMinimans,
You might have to
but-
stay for a few days.
Exactly. So, but it's kind of crazy to see, just how many jobs are open, and we were able to fill those spots that we did. And that was a lot of work on your part in April, but
I'm
also
sure I drove
Lorraine.
Lorraine crazy.
Lorraine was another new packet, another new hire packet, so we were able to get it all figured out. So thank you to everybody.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
office
that's a
ladies,
big deal from an HR position.
Oh,
That's
yeah, it's huge.
huge.
so we
Thank
have
you,
another, this week and next week, and we'll be able to finish up and then head into, next school year basically. So on that Monday when we have our
Well,
decision.
and I just want to add, I love that you guys opened it for parents that help out with whatever you guys needed to come and drop stuff off or whatever like that. It made them feel a part of it. And so whether you needed them to help out or not, it really made us feel a part to do that, so.
Well, that was part of those goals we talked about, right?
Yeah,
And so
Sure,
that's something that Chris and I have talked about
perfect.
a few times, so.
It does, it makes you feel like you're needed and stuff, so that's great.
That was our spotlight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, 7B, our updates and reports. We'll start with one, HMK.
Well, good evening, everybody. So I'm starting to do a report about a month behind, just so I can keep up with you guys. But so in the month of May, we really had the ground running with getting concepts, designs, meeting with key stakeholders, your teachers, your design committees, to ensure that we captured everything, captured the program, captured what you were looking for in the bond, and really trying to get that into some early design concepts to present. We presented that multiple times, multiple versions, to try and get the perfect iteration for you. On top of that, we also did 2 RFPs, one for topographical surveys and one for geotechnical surveys, and that's been progressing. So, any questions about that board report on your ask, or anything at all about that report?
And the geotechnical, they actually did, how many core samples did they do?
About 6 or 7.
6 or 7, and they actually went down, so this explains the difference, right, that we were talking about before with the geotech. They actually do the core samples, and they went down to 50 feet in some locations, and then just the 7 feet in a couple of them. So between 7 feet and 50 feet on the core samples, and then they'll take that back and finalize it. do
Were they
whatever
just
it is.
out the other day?
Right.
Yeah, I thought I saw them.
And then we had another one with drones.
Yeah, the drones,
That were
Yeah.
doing that, and that was the topographic.
They actually, yeah, they do it all with drones now. They've got a little bit of like on the ground work with their topographics, but they just, it's about $100,000 drone that they fly out in the very expensive stuff.
Yeah. It's amazing what they can do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want to talk about the cost estimate.
Oh yeah, so we are probably moving into what's happening now, but we have just progressed into the end of SD, which is that first phase of design.
Mhm.
That we got our SD package from the designer last Friday. Now we're moving into cost estimating for SD, so we'll be able to give you as accurate as we can get with how much things will actually cost. And we add escalation percentages for like looking at the future as well. So we're looking at how this is going to play out in 2022, February 2022, what prices are going to look like and how things are going to change. It's the best we can.
So how many times, is it 4 times from what I remember,
3.
3 times that you do the estimating and then you're hoping on the next time that we're able to get the CMGC on board before we do the estimating the second time?
We like to have 2 cost estimators happen simultaneously. One is a firm in Portland called Construction Focus. They work directly for the architect. And what we do is we have the CMGC or the general contractor also provide an estimate. And we bring those 2 estimates together and we can compare them and we can see, it helps us to understand if there's any gaps in the scope. What happens is when a general contractor doesn't understand the scope, they just throw money at it. So I'll figure it out once I get there. We want to try and find those mistakes early on, or those issues. And how we do that is by comparing the 2 cost estimates. We can see, hey, this number seems reasonable, but this number is way out of control. So who's not understanding the scope? And we can really try and get as much definition as we can. So that's what we're going into the future. This will be happening the next month, this cost estimating process.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions?
Do you want to talk a little bit about they're going to be voting on?
Yeah. So
the procurement.
CMGC fund in effect, it's just an alternative procurement method. It's as opposed to a hard bid, we go out for it's a qualifications-based process as opposed to just a lowest dollar value. It's really the first step in the process. We'll be presenting a few more times for this whole process. So with a RFP, and then a presentation of the contractor that turns out to be gets picked. So.
And with that, you'll see a paper I put in front of you from H&K. Underneath there where it says the CMGC part, it says recommended motion. And then one of the board members would utilize that phrase in order to give the motion if that's what the board decides to do with this when it comes down to the vote.
It's just a recommendation. It's just what we put it there just to help you with the language.
We always need help with that kind of stuff. Thank you.
Here you go.
Always take.
Always appreciate it. Anything else?
No, Paul said it well. I mean, the CMGC, I think we've talked about this before. Bringing a contractor in early in the process can help us with also cost estimating. Also, they understand the details of drawing, so when the project does go out to bid to subcontractors, they're able to answer those detailed questions, so we do get more accurate pricing. And also, I like seeing the bids. It's that we were seeing actual costs. It's a very transparent process, and I like that aspect of it. They can suggest, cost savings ideas, and also they just have their hands on the pulse of the market, so they understand current values.
And hopefully
Yeah.
lower values.
Yeah.
They're also very helpful with value engineering. Not that we want to cheapen the construction project at all, but they have built so many projects that this is their life. They know, wait, there's a cheaper way I can do this. And suggest it to the architect, and then we vet that and discuss it. So it just brings another person to the table that has to bring ideas and to try and keep the project as efficient as possible.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, our next update report would be the superintendent report, 7B2.
Sorry, just getting everything ready to talk about that.
You got excited about HMK.
Well, I was also Christie's item there too, so I have about 15,000 handouts in front of me right now. There it is. Christie, right? I'll leave it right there. Put mine. Can we actually go on to Christie so I can go on and get mine
We
back?
can,
in
we
order?
can skip, we can
Thank you, I'll be
go
right back. I
7,
have to make
you
sure I
can
have it
go
right.
7B3, elementary report.
I can't help you much though, because you already discussed mine.
Yeah, that's
so-
true. Aaron, you're up. Good point.
We are, I'll talk longer today. We've got 30 students right now. Our school profile, that will not change probably until September, or October. And then I kind of just talked about what our focus is gonna be. I'm looking at that. We just wanna provide more opportunities for functional jobs around the school. I'm working with Willamette ESD and their transition specialists and just kind of beefing up those programs. So I've been talking to teachers about ways we can incorporate jobs and just involvement with our special education kids in all areas of our schools. The focus can be on the more academic side, but when we're looking at future opportunities, we want to make sure our kids have plenty of opportunities, you know, ordering food, counting money, doing all of those things, and kind of doing some of those pre-employment skills. So that's gonna be our focus for the next few years thereafter.
Thank you.
It's needed.
One of the things that just happened in the legislative session also was that there are gonna be some change with the IEP with talking about those transition programs. And, you know, I've always tried to do that here, but it's important for us to make sure we're looking at all those items with our students as they transition out of being here at school and just setting them up for success in the future, whether they're going to a 4-year college or a 2-year or into the workforce. We want to make sure we're giving them the best chance possible. I don't have one.
I have it.
Thank you. I really don't see it. I'm sure it was in there, Cindy. I just don't have it right. So just talking about summer camp Bear Brigade, you know, again, thank the outside groups also. We have a lot of different guest speakers that have come in. Everybody from Mr. Hallett, who again set things on fire last week, which is great. But we have a lot of people that I've worked with April in the past, doing some of the outdoor school items that have come and worked with our kids. And some of it's geared more towards younger kids, some towards older kids. We've tried to adjust that. So we think it's going to be a little bit more towards the younger kids. Then Christy said, hey, high school, why don't you go ahead and take it easy on that one and do some of these other items instead. So that flexibility from our staff has been really outstanding as well. But having the outside groups come in has been great. So a thank you to them. We talked about registration coming up on August 2nd and 3rd. We'll have it still out in the area between the buildings like we did last year. We'll have some shade areas set up. I guess that was one concern from last year. So we do have 4 shade canopies that we can easily put up. Have some areas out there. Even thought about maybe even doing a little bit of a mister that you can buy for $40 or whatever. Put something out there for them.
Won't be filling out paperwork though.
On this side, I'm not saying right there on top of it.
Paperwork wet.
But I noticed I didn't buy it either, but we do have the shade canopies that we'll have set up out there for those 2 days. And then also on August 4th, something the ladies did last year was set up individual times for our new families and have a chance to meet with them and go through the process. So I thought that was great. The items will be sent to you via email to our families and then also put online. Correct me if I'm missing something there, Christy, Cindy. And then also, we currently have students participating in activities on campus right now. Some of our middle school basketball girls have been working, coaches, as you saw earlier today in the email. right now our high school team is doing some workouts a couple days a week. And then, we're going to make sure that we talk with our student, staff, and parent groups, identify other groups. And that's something that I know, Jessica, you're representing PPC as well, and something that they have talked about it also, trying to give some other opportunities. So that's something we'll do at registration, is put out some questionnaires for our students on some items that they would like to see, not just now and at the beginning of this year, but throughout the year and even in the years to come as well. So,
CDL license.
well,
I'm kidding. I need charters.
okay, I don't know if we can get them to get their CDL at 15, but we can,
I am at 18, as long as I stay in Oregon.
yeah. So, and then, again, more we can get our students participating, the better it is, and more that we have them working with our staff the same way. That's also really imperative for looking at student behaviors, and interaction with staff is a big key to that. And that's something that Kristen, Aaron, and I are looking at, is, this idea of service duty that we've had all this time. It's probably time for us to up our game a little bit. She's nodding because she's a big proponent of this. So we're going to be looking at that, and that's part of that rewrite of the student handbook, and why I sent that email to you folks, because we want to make sure that we're getting that right and make sure that we have a thorough amount of time. And with summer school, I think that's taken a lot more time than what we anticipated, especially from Christy's time. So for us to really have a big discussion about that, we're going to have to wait until the end of summer school on the 29th to get that really going well.
What direction are you guys thinking?
I want to talk about the restorative justice type idea and
Yeah.
finish off of that.
Yeah, just addressing behavior in a more proactive way. So rather than punishment, it's more an opportunity to build skills. So even students that are completely verbal and have, either shutdown behaviors or outbursts, kind of using an opportunity to teach them, when I feel like this, these are some things I can do, rather than just issue a consequence where a student, may even already know the consequence and decide that the behavior is worth doing, knowing that the consequence is there. So just looking at, when I get frustrated, these are the things I can do. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, these are the things I can do. So kind of taking a more proactive teaching approach rather than punishment. And kind of tying that into, the time it's maybe taking away from students, how can they kind of give that back? Or if it's, something like vandalism, how would they help clean up or do something that's kind of related to what the behavior was.
And so recognizing that not everything that works for kindergarten works for 12th grade.
Right,
also.
yeah, right.
So,
And it's helping them identify that emotion that they're having too, that's then presenting itself as outburst or anger or whatever makes it sense itself. So
Yeah, so just
That's
kind of
a huge
digging
part.
deeper into behavior rather than just like, you messed up, here's your consequence, just kind of digging deeper into the why behind it.
I like it. I was definitely one of those teenagers that would weigh out the consequence and go, definitely worth it, let's go.
I would say I was that way too, but I think she was worse.
Oh.
She owned that a second ago. She was like, yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
We probably would have gotten in trouble together in school.
And then lastly, it said, I want to thank our student and staff in advance for the flexibility with routines due to our upcoming construction projects. We're already, moving some teachers' locations. Our kindergarten is going to be out in the new modulars. So we'll have K through 3 out there. 4 and 5 will be down at the end of the hallway here in the library in that first classroom, which means Mrs. Reyes moves into Mr. Ferguson's old room, et cetera. So we have that processed out in order to, get ready for the project. We don't want to be moving mid-year, and we don't know the exact timeline. We have some general ideas that Paul and Steve would give to us, but that could vary a little bit here or there. So
Who's gonna be in the middle school?
6, 7, and 8.
It is gonna be 6.
Yeah, we were able to put them back in there. So the 3 feet of distance instead of the 6 has allowed us largely to get back to our normal routine over there. And really, we're just trying to vacate a lot of the elementary area because, again, we don't want to really move our way through. And those classrooms are actually a little bit larger than the ones they currently have, and they have individual restrooms up there. We had talked about putting KM1 down here to be close to the office, but the proximity to a bathroom and individual bathrooms for those kindergartners and first graders, having those there in the room just made a lot of sense. Otherwise, our instructional assistants would have spent their whole day going up and down the hallway with the kids.
As they are during
As they are during summer camp,
So
What's
are
that?
all day during summer
Yeah,
camp.
exactly.
we, so are you guys gonna go ahead and vacate most of the elementary then? Is that what you're doing?
The classrooms are.
Yeah, our resource room is actually going to stay there, but we're also going to have a second room and the computer lab, the old computer lab. We'll go ahead and utilize that. We used 2 rooms last year. It worked out really well. We used the one that was down there, and then also the last classroom was utilized by our resource room staff. So that worked out really well. We're excited for them to have that location. At the second part of the year, when we're actually starting to do construction and demo, then the resource room will have to be all in that area. So that'll be a little bit cramped quarters at that time, but you know, we'll make do and try to figure out the space best we can. But we try to be proactive this summer and have that discussion. You know, really over the first few weeks of this summer, we had that discussion so we could keep Troy involved in the conversation, so we knew where the classrooms are gonna have to be moved to. So we've let all the staff know that are going to be affected by a move already. We had better reviews or comments back than we thought we may have, especially from kindergarten teacher. I want to say, for the record, she was fantastic about it. So, but I think everybody's excited about the project in general and knows that it's going to take a little bit of growing pains in order to get that finished product. So we'll do whatever it takes for us to really get through this school.
So we'll have some empty classrooms, maybe we could do some evening yoga.
We are doing wellness.
No, Erin's planning on vacating her office.
Oh, yeah, I'm
So
going
she doesn't have to
to.
listen to any type of
Usually
Christmas
it's part
music.
way through the year.
So, but yeah, their flexibility is going to be great. It always is. Last year they were good about stuff, and this year, you know, same thing. They're just going to be pretty good about it already, like I said. So, all right. That's it.
Thank you. 7B5, facility report. Does anybody have any questions or anything they wanted to discuss right now? Okay, then we will, actually, if we could back up just a moment for a superintendent report. I did want to know what we're doing, you know, coming out of our COVID. Did we purchase or did we rent? I think we purchased a whole bunch of hotspots. What are we doing with all those?
More or less paying.
Huh?
We're paying a monthly fee for them.
So we have a contract through end of August on those.
So our families still have access? And
Yeah, they still have access
Good.
for now. And then I think it's August was when we purchased them last year, so. Yeah, those have been problems, sorry, go
Don't
ahead.
they have to be returned, don't they have to be returned back or not?
No, yeah, once you have them, yeah.
Right, so
So
what are we gonna do with them? Should we?
hold on to
do our-
them.
do our okay,
We want to hold on to in case we have any other type of situation. No, really, it's the SIM card inside of them that makes it go, so those do expire. We had to get some last year. Really, Cindy has been kind of a guru on the hotspots for passing them out, and already has been on the billing. I think I talked about it a few months ago, that we had a challenge with each one of those hotspots has a telephone number that's assigned to it, but we don't know. They don't let us know which phone number goes with which hotspot. So even though we have an inventory of hotspots, which families have them, we don't know how that phone number matches up with those. So that is going to be potentially problematic if we have some that aren't turning back in and getting those turned off, the right people, because we'll have some kids that we still probably need to have those because they're still working on high school credits, et cetera, that we want to make sure they still have access that way.
well, I was wondering if as a administration, if you're taking a look at some of our kids, maybe, you know, living in the country makes internet access a little difficult. So I was wondering if we had kids who needed those hotspots to continue to do their schoolwork.
If that's
Internet
needed,
access is part of education these days, right? After hours at school, so I was wondering if any of our students still need it. Is that
Well,
something we need to look at?
that it would be something we need to look at. I think it is important for us to consider that, especially if, you know, we like to think we're doing better as a state and as a country than we were before with our COVID cases, but, I know some people have concerns about what's gonna happen over the next couple of months, and, if we have a class that's quarantined, where do we go from there? So again, the state is supposed to release other items. Chrissy had written down the 21st, I had 27th down, but maybe it was a 1 that I wrote down wrong. But, so we should know sometime either this week or next week what the final version is from the state. And when we get that, then we'll have a better understanding of what we have to be prepared for. Like last year, they said, okay, you have to be prepared for this, and that's why we kind of forced into a couple of situations. This year, we have more flexibility, but that is a concern, especially if we had a mask optional type situation like we do with, if we have a student in the classroom who does come down with COVID, that's probably going to quarantine that whole classroom. And so what do you do in that case? And then not only that, what happens if you have a staff member that teaches in high school, teaches multiple classes? Then you may have to shut down multiple classes. So especially if it was like a core class, like an English teacher, that, or a social studies teacher, that could be, something that could be difficult to wade through. So, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but we also want to be prepared. And, you may have some more information on that. And you're like, nope.
Not for elementary. Or
No, I
not
just
for
meant-
K-12,
yeah. Yeah, so,
So
You know, those-
we do own them, we do own the hotspots.
yeah, we
And
saw a
there's a
contract with
potential for
them.
us to maybe extend our contract so that we're prepared.
Yeah, and that would just still be $20 a month, is what it would be. We'd probably have to get some new SIM cards. And the gentleman we were working with last year through T-Mobile was pretty responsive. And the T-Mobile ones work better along the Highway 22 corridor and along the roads off of that. And some people said they had more success with that than their Verizon plans. So that's originally why we went with T-Mobile than Verizon. And our neighborhoods, Verizon works better than where I live, but that's not what we're worried about. We're worried about those kids, because that seems to be our families with more difficult challenges with Wi-Fi is along that Highway 22 corridor.
Until you get over the hill, and then it's Verizon.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, but once you get over that hill.
So,
Can I ask a question about Troy's thing about the trees that were cut down? Are you guys struggling to find people to take the
yes,
wood?
what we're looking at doing, I talked with McKenna, she's actually gone this week, but we talked about her getting some kids, families to bring in some splitters and then selling that wood as a fundraiser for the FFA. So she's gone this week, but I told her when she gets back, the wood may still be sitting there.
Ever contacted me about a splitter.
Okay.
And you
That'd
guys,
be
is that the same, is wood getting taken out by the greenhouse area?
That's what he wants to do, but I'm fine with it being where it is.
Okay.
I think moving it
I
multiple
know, for
times
sure.
would be maybe not the best use, especially if we're done with summer school next week. Then we have some time to be able to get rid of it and just cut it there.
Taking it across the gravel organic material.
Yeah, I just think keeping it there is the best bet probably, so.
It looks great down, but I didn't know what the wood was. I know you had advertised people to come and get it, but it's kind of still there.
But it is, and I think larger pieces is more challenging. I think that we thought that there may be more takers on that.
Well, there was an overabundance of wood with the ice storm, so we're like good for like 3 years at least, so. No more wood. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8A, resolution 22-0. Oh, our added,
Yeah, sure,
thank you.
discussion.
Our paradigm discussion. Item 7C.
So the other day we had a work session, and at that time, some numbers has to be done. Now, Paradigm had given the numbers up on top, and then I ran some other scenarios. Kitty had asked for us to look at what would be the kind of break-even point, and I figured that to be about 35. I think the numbers that they provided for teachers and associated costs was probably a little too low. So I had talked with everybody last week about our costs, and I had changed that up on the top.
Dan, we've discussed this and we had a work session, but because this is a public meeting, I think the people listening don't know what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, I'll be ready to start. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we need to look at with our upcoming school year is to make sure that we have options for some of our students that are choosing not to come back yet, especially with our elementary level kids. What do we do for those families that are wanting to get vaccinated, their children vaccinated, but haven't been able to because the age restriction is still on there? And there's still a lot of uncertainty. Some of us have heard September has that first date, and then the following shot, 4 weeks later. Some of us have heard maybe it to December before they have that first opportunity to do that, which would then take them into January. So some families have still expressed some concerns about coming back to school. And one of the things we have to look at as a school is how are we going to serve those kids and those families? And the method in which we did this year isn't really feasible for the upcoming school year for a couple reasons, but really when you look at the overall ability to educate kids in the classroom, which is the majority of our kids, and the few kids, maybe let's say 2 kids on average in each class that are choosing to stay online, it's hard to teach both of those groups effectively. And the state is also requiring you to go back to full-time class load hours. So we would still have to be from 7:45 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon every Monday through Thursday with our kids. Last year, we were able to be done at about 2:15 in order to make sure that we still had time for our teachers to connect with those families that were still online. Well, this year we don't have that ability. So workload is an issue as well. So the delivery model of what we're getting with students that are online, also in the classroom, and then the amount of time just makes that really difficult to be able to do. So we're interested in doing a model where we had teaching here with our kids in person, and that would be the focus of our school. But then what would we be looking at doing with our kids that are wishing to stay online? And so what we looked at were other models that some schools had, and we don't want to push those kids away that are Perrydale students, especially those who are out of district, who if they decide to go to a different school may not have an opportunity to come back into our school because of the way that the state laws are written and the policies are written. So we would have to then say goodbye possibly to some of those families, and that's not what we want, is this situation to cause our families to have to leave if they don't feel comfortable. We don't want them to have to choose between staying at Perrydale and or possibly putting their kid in a situation they don't feel comfortable with, and we're trying to alleviate that. So by looking at this opportunity with other schools, what are they doing? LC School District, who's smaller than us, did something last year called Learn at Home Oregon, where they hire a teacher just to work with these kids online. And these kids come from their own school district, but then also other areas of the state. And it's a charter school. And they then do half-time online and then half-time with project-based education opportunities. So what they would do is, they would go over the live instruction first, and then they had the time throughout the whole day, even into the night, to go ahead and work on those projects. And what they do is they mix science and math together as one core area, and then they have humanities, which is social studies and language arts. And then they have another one, which is health and PE. So they utilize those 3 core areas, and they have multiple meetings throughout the day, 3 meetings, and then other opportunities for this students to work on those projects for those classes. So we had a work session on Saturday with the people of Paradigm, that's the company's name, Paradigm Learning Systems. And they're the ones who ran Learn at Home Oregon for the LC School District. And when I say ran it, they did the curriculum and provided services to help educate those kids, but they weren't the ones in charge of the school. That was actually the LC School District. So we had basically the principal for the Learn at Home Oregon, Tim France, who actually lives in Willamina. We had one of the co-founders of Paradigm. Her mom was a teacher here for 27 years, And the other one, that's the co-founder and the CEO, he actually was a teacher and coach here for a couple of years and a teacher here for a year. So they came in and talked with us, and then also their special ed, lady who also taught special ed, who was their lead teacher, she was here as well. So we looked at that Saturday, asked some questions after they were done with the presentation. And one of those items that was discussed was what would be our risk by taking on a project like this, because Paradigm charges you a fee of what it would cost for 100 kids up front, which would be $200,000 just to start their end of the program, because they would have to hire some people to work specifically for Perrydale. And so you have to look at what is that break-even point, and then what would be the net gain to the school district if you had kids like at 100, 200, 300, what would be the cost factor of that for the district. So I have a spreadsheet here. Some of the numbers Paradigm worked up, some of the others down below were the ones that I had worked up. And I talked with Cindy about some of the factors for the admin and secretary and what we felt comfortable taking on. And so that's the paper I just gave you a little bit ago. So that's kind of where we are with that. Trina, is there anything else, Amber, and any other school board members to give a background information on that?
Well, not background, but so for a charter, they need to have their own, the charter needs to have its own board.
It wouldn't need to be if we became like a charter district. So our brick and mortar K through 12 would still be the same. That wouldn't affect our school in any way. If you don't want to do it that way, you want to kind of have it separate, then yes, you'd have to have its own board.
Okay.
So it just depends on what route you would want to take with that.
So you mentioned the secretaries administratively, then you three would take on the supervision of those teachers and that.
Yeah, so that part would still be, to a certain point. So that's why under where it says admin and secretary, they said at 100, they put, that you would have somebody doing that in a secretary. We felt, I felt with 35 and 50, we felt pretty comfortable still with that.
But
But
at
then-
80,
Then you still need to start, looking at escalating that for maybe a half-time person, or, like with half-time for a secretarial position and a half-time admin, or, you'd have to vary that and see what it looks like. But that's what we felt more comfortable with. Really, the break-even number is about 35. One of the things that we did ask the other day was, okay, well, what if you had kids that were in multiple classes, that were signing up? And at first, they were signing up, they have one teacher, this Jill lady that we met, that was teaching all of those different groups throughout the day, 3 times a day. And then it turned into, at the end, they started with, what did they say, 32 kids? And by the end of by the peak, they were at 570 kids halfway through the year. And then even after kids were able to get back into the building, they still finished the school year with about 430, I believe it was. So 430 kids that chose
how many teachers did they have at that point?
9.
Okay.
So what they went with was a 1-to-50 ratio. And online, that wasn't too bad. They felt good with that. Some schools do up to 1-to-70. LC doesn't feel good. I wouldn't feel good with that. This would be something we want it to be beneficial for our kids. And if it's not a product that's worth giving, then we should do it. We should look to do something different. So, this is one of those routes that I felt like we could explore to see if this may be the route we want to go. I mean, it's July 19th, obviously, but we don't want to do something that would feel like we didn't feel comfortable doing it at this point, or something that we felt rushed into. So if we needed more time to talk about it and have its own meeting, then I think that would be something that we could look at doing, and I think that would be the right thing to do, probably, is have another discussion about it, because this isn't something we would look at lightly, I think. Again, 35, I think, is doable, but in how many grades? What's the workload for that teacher? You almost want to start out with 2 teachers, but then you're looking at, that would not be your break even, it would not be 35, it'd be closer to 50. It'd really be about 45.
This be K-12,
K-8.
K-8.
K through 12, once you start getting into 9 through 12, it has other implications that are more difficult. So, that's something, and they don't actually have that curriculum design right now for that, because it's been more of a K-8 product for them.
See that the advertising costs were significantly reduced.
We did at first, because if we're doing 35, that means we weren't advertising much. If you're gonna advertise more, you're gonna, have to spend money to get the kids in, obviously. So one of the things that you look at, other districts, Salem Kaiser, for example, has the EDGE, and Aaron, I know, your kids went to Salem Kaiser School District, and the EDGE program, I would say, has a lot of detractors. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
And these larger school districts are wanting to keep their online programs, but it's not necessarily what kids feel and families feel are good programs. And Salem Kaiser could hire 20 kids or 20 teachers in this school, and that wouldn't be very many teachers for them. If we hired one to do it, it's a big deal for us. So, I think it just comes down to how much risk do we want, and especially during a year of construction. But at the same time, if we decide to wait, I don't know if this opportunity presents itself again next year. It may just be something we just decide not to do. Then the other challenge that comes back on us is, what are we gonna do for our at-home kids, and try to figure that out for them. And I'm not saying we are gonna be able to have an answer for everybody, but I think we all can agree that trying to do both things isn't really an option for our online kids and our in-person kids. To try to do it simultaneously, I don't think that's.
Where will this teacher work from? Where did their teachers work from?
From home. They do most of their teaching at home. Their admin, like Tim France works that at LC each day. Their secretaries are there, but just like Oregon Connections, usually those teachers work remotely. And then in subsequent years, when we have modular space available, then you have an opportunity to utilize that for kind of the home base, especially if it was somewhere you had a sizable amount of students, that you could actually utilize one of those or two of those rooms for that purpose. You just can't really charge it much rent, because that was part of the deal with utilizing the extra dollars. So, yeah. So I don't know if we want to have a larger discussion on this on Wednesday night. If you don't have an appetite for it, I understand that. And that may not be the right time for it for us.
What are we gonna do for our high school kids that we wanna do online? We're just gonna offer them,
I'm trying to figure out something with a couple of different schools I could put in there about what was the name of the one that had not the American schools, but the James Madison.
James Madison.
They offer some other classes too. So the problem is, again, you're paying out for each course.
Right.
So we would have to expect a, cost on that. I don't know how many high school kids, honestly, that would be in that boat. Cindy, do you think we'll have any high school kids that are choosing not to be here at school?
Not that I've heard.
Yeah, not that I heard.
And
So-
what's our estimated guess for K-8?
I'd probably say about 2 per class at this point. That would be
2
my
per
guess.
class that would wanna do
On-
remote?
Would that be about right?
Probably.
Really, that feels large to me. 2 per class, really?
Well, there would be some, like last year we still had 5th grade that had 5. So I'm just saying on average. So, in some classes it would be 0. Like kindergarten last year was 0. They had all their kids back. It was a small class. But again, we would know better. The hard part is we won't really know until registration.
Sure.
But it's hard because, like we talked about parking for the horses earlier. For registration, you want to be able to tell your families what you may be able to offer. At the same time, if we don't want to start saying we're going to offer that, I truly feel like having students in the building is a better option for kids learning. So the more we can have them in person, Cole Gill, who's the director of ODE, said that himself in our meeting in June. Not that he's probably popular with some people in the state right now, but he said that himself.
I personally would like to have more of a discussion on it. Don't feel like we're ready to
Yeah, I understand
personally,
that.
so that's my 2 cents there.
I think it was more of a, do we want more of a discussion on Wednesday? I'm saying Wednesday, I'm gonna be leaving Thursday after school and be back Monday night. So I can do it on Wednesday night, or it was either gonna be that, or maybe we don't have further discussion. Because I didn't think we were ready probably to have that, and so I kind of said that earlier, do we want to have it, when we spoke earlier today. I figured that was probably the case.
I think we need further discussion. Well, we're at time.
I know, right?
I hear
That's the
ya.
thing.
I can do 8 o'clock on a Wednesday, if that works. I don't know if it does. I don't know what works with your schedule or not.
Day to day.
I figured 8 o'clock was better than 6 o'clock, that's what I said that.
It is.
So, and then we can also do early in the morning, that doesn't work for you though. That probably worked better for you than it would for you. And Amber, you too, with your work schedule. Fridays would work, but, right, and then Fridays that you don't.
Going
Oh, no, I meant every day.
Oh,
Early.
I thought you got off early. That's right.
I wish.
So, and where we are, if we want a further discussion, it's probably, again, we could do it beginning of next week, if that's better for people, but I can't do it till Tuesday. I could try it Monday night, but coming from the Bay Area, so that could be a little difficult.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I know.
Well, let's all think about this and we'll discuss it at the end of the meeting. I'm good with that.
That works.
In use of here, this break-even number was 35. You're talking about 2 kids per class.
Average, that would be 7 grades, let's say, or no more than that. There's
9.
9 grades, so that'd be 18 kids. But again, how is one teacher really doing? That's the hard part. Because I know that's what they tried at the beginning. I think that's difficult to do. I think that you could have somebody do bands where you could get by with 2 teachers, and then 3 would be kind of ideal. But that's your $1,000, so. For 3. So. Yep. So, I think, like you said, we'll discuss at the end when dates may be available. And then
Okay, let's do that.
yeah.
Okay, item 8A, resolution 22-01.
Resolution, did you want to read that? So it's a yearly resolution of items that we have to sign off on, or the board needs to sign off on. So, Ray and members of the office too, but had prepared that for you folks, for us to do that this evening, so. You have it?
I heard that green.
Page 79.
No, it's not. I got it.
Should we be able to go, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Should we be able to go back to regular lunch fees and stuff next year? When we're back into everything, or,
I would say yes, but I don't know what the state will do.
okay,
You know, we've heard that they kind of like the idea of seamless summer. So they may say that's what we're going to be doing from now on, we're not
so
sure.
we'll know a little bit closer.
Or June.
Yeah.
How are we doing financially with the lunch program with Seamless Summer?
They're better, and I think we actually have to assume if we already chosen seamless summer for the next year.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yes,
So-
correct.
That's great.
But how are we doing financially?
They give us more money by far, so. Financially, at the end of the last year, we were 18 above.
Oh, yes.
We have,
Okay.
it gives us way more money.
It's a great option for our kids, for sure.
How's our athletic participation fees? I mean, it seems like the reason I'm asking about those two is because we're always bailing them out.
Yeah.
The conversation we had in the office was, we need to raise this at some point, but I don't know if this is a year. I mean, we waived it this year to try to get participation. It was low. Still worried about how many kids. We have had pretty good turnout at the football workouts and at the basketball camp that Coach Newton and Coach Newton are doing. But I didn't know if this was the right year, especially if we were, we did look at this as a different fee on a different page, but when we're talking about the K through 5 and the 6 through 12, those were $5 before, and those student body fees pay for you to get into every game free. Whether or not you choose to use it, that's up to you, but that's some of it. I mean, it helps pay for other things too, other activities. We do feel like 6 through 12 can utilize it more, but we've been at $5 student body fees since I got here. So I think raising it for $10 and 15 was probably okay. But I do think that at some point, we're gonna have to look at that number for athletics and basic. I think that's been the same number for probably 17 years or so. That I can think of. The family cap was something that was introduced a little later on.
Yeah.
Now, one thing we do have is with our service integration money, they have paid for some family caps in the past. So we've been able to recapture some for our families that haven't. We have not said you can't play as a family. If cost is a factor, then we will figure out something to work with those families to try to figure that out.
Well, and it says in there about the scholarships, case by case basis. So if there really is someone that wants to play that,
Yes. Again, we charge, most schools charge, some schools like Fall City, they don't charge. A lot of schools actually went the route we did last year and decided not to charge. Just because of the uncertainty of everything. This year we'll have a lot more certainty to it, so. And they'll have normal season schedules, et cetera.
I agree. I don't think this is the year to increase it, but I think it does need to have an increase.
And so right now, I think we're just really looking at this one here, the resolution for.
Yes,
and then
22.
School fees is the one after that, but
Right.
I know they kind of coincide, it feels like. But
I'll move to resolution 22-01.
One second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 22-01. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 22-01 passes unanimously. Item 8B, 2021-2022 school fees.
I know you're already looking at that, but with the $20 fund for the classroom fund, and then here, but obviously is optional.
Well, so what do we do with the planner?
So we've had the planner fee on there last year. We did not charge it though, correct? Because we did not know. We had a couple families that started paying it, but we were able to put that forward to this year. I think it was the final determination on that, correct? Families that did. So we have a planner that we order and we pass out every year that they can utilize. We've done that in the past, grades 5 through 12. We have a different fifth grade teacher, but the previous fifth grade teacher had wanted their kids to use the planner. So that That $5 item is a point of contention sometimes though.
Yeah.
So, that's why we decided last year not to charge for that, because we didn't know if we are gonna end up using it or not, so.
The two that I struggled with our funds every year are the classroom fund for $20. It says activities and supplies, but then as parents, we get this huge supply list. And then the other one is the student planner. I mean, I would probably win an over-under bet on who has their planner still by November 1st.
No, it's even opening it, yeah, and there's not even.
Well, and I
Who
think
does?
the middle school
Middle school
utilizes them a lot, I was just gonna say
Big
that.
time.
So and when you're in middle school, you check it more frequently, and then you're hoping that they get in the habit of that.
It's
The
part of their
high school does not really utilize it as much, the kids don't. But at the high school level, you don't really check their planners all the time. It's not like you're typically doing it anatomy and physiology, although those kids are probably using it. So,
I'm okay with all of it. I just think that these two we need to work on these for the future. I'd rather that our classroom fee was $25 or $30 and the parent supply list was maybe a little bit less, significantly less. I'd rather that we had actual fees that went to things parents didn't have to bring in a big supply list. And I think that a planner should be in the supplies.
I could add a little bit to the classroom fund to explain that process a little bit more. So we have students bring individual supplies that they use individually, they keep individually, and sometimes they want personal choice with that. And then there's supplies that the teacher will need to purchase for whole group activities or whole group needs that would be different than the items kids bring from home. So one would be a more expensive item that the teacher might need to provide for the class, and then the others are individually chosen items. An example could be that I want to buy a new telescope for my classroom. That's what I would use the classroom funds for instead of having kiddos bring a telescope from home. So things that just are less accessible for students.
Again, we probably should be budgeting for that.
in the scheme of things, it's $6,000. So I'm not saying we could try to budget that for the classrooms, not necessarily, I mean, they would still have to get some of their own supplies, don't get me wrong, but
I
that's
like
something.
the individual supplies, it makes good sense. I just think that sometimes we like nickel and dime on this form. It's always bothered me, I don't like it.
We could just put fee at this, say, $50, school fee.
I kinda like it.
And they could just say includes.
May include,
Yeah. maybe.
not has, yeah. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the 2021-2022 school fees.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2021-2022 school fees. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Paradise School 21-22 school fee passes unanimously. Right, item 8C, alternative contracting method, CMGC.
So as we discussed earlier, we were looking at doing a CMG process. So in order to do that process, we had to make sure that we advertised, put out that we were looking to do an alternative contracting method, which was part of that ORS 279C, and allow for any type of comments and number given to us. And I don't think anybody was here to sign up to talk about that. So it looks like we can go ahead and move forward because we put that notice in both the Itemizer Observer and the Daily Journal of Commerce, in order to make sure that we allow people that opportunity to come speak out if they have an issue with it. Paul, anything you want to add on that?
Ready? I'm ready if you are, Katie.
I move to accept the findings of fact for the construction manager, general contractor, contracting method as presented for the Perrydale School District 21 Capital Improvement Project. The request is to use construction manager, general contractor procurement process.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alternative contracting method, CMGC, passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item 8D, RFP for transportation.
Yeah,
Thank
so-
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, gentlemen. Take care. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I thought you were saying thank you to Nico. I was like, all right, there you go. That's it. Take care. So, I sent this out yesterday to you. I was working out last week. We, I put out the RFP in those two same places, our local paper and then the Daily Journal. And we had 3 people that were on the meeting, so I thought all 3 of them were going to bid. And then I heard submit a proposal. And then the office said, oh, only one group turned it in. And I said, who is that? And they said Midco. So I was happy to hear that our local company has been working with us and we have a relationship with, had been the one that submitted that proposal. That being said, we still had to make sure we went through the process because that's what it stated in the RFP process that we did that. And Rebecca had said, yeah, you need to, our legal counsel had said that. So we made sure that we scored that out. And again, we had our business manager, our special ed director who utilizes some of the services for the smaller buses, and then our secretary who works with the transportation company. And we scored that out the other day. It should come as no surprise, Midco won that process. And so, yes, exactly. And so we said that, that was going to be our recommendation. But I'm glad you 2 are here because I want you to hear this next part. And I had sent this out there yesterday. So, not only because of that process, but, one of the reasons why I would say that we want to look for recommendations because I'm just going to read it. But we have built a great relationship with Midco over the past 10 years. And many of our students and our parents know our drivers well, and a great level of trust has been built. Likewise, our office staff have built a good relationship with Midco management and drivers, and we feel they have been very responsive to our needs. In addition to our relationships that have been established, the fact that many of our nearby schools, Midco also allows, you guys also work with them, allows us to get competitive pricing. Dallas, Falls City, and Sheridan all use Midco as their transportation provider. Allows Midco to have a common manager, mechanics, and transportation facility. Allows them to have enough drivers to cover unforeseen circumstances. And we give those to you sometimes, and I know that, Rex. So, lastly, and this is the other part, Midco's been a good partner with us. And when we've needed them over the past decade, you guys have always been there. Whether that's, and this isn't written down, I remember calling when we were stuck in Adrian, Oregon.
Yeah.
And our gas line, our fuel line had ruptured and we needed somebody and I could call. Luckily, we had 2 people whose kids went to school here at that time. And I called both of them, at 9 o'clock at night and said, we have an issue. And we had somebody come and fix our bus on the side of the road at Adrian while we ate dinner. So our kids were not impacted. And it's just that type of service that we appreciate. And being a locally, an Oregon-owned company like that, that's a good thing to know that you have our backs like that, and you guys are throughout the state. So that's really good. And when we had repairs that needed to be made after people had broken into our minibus, you guys repaired the items for pennies on the dollar. You guys took stuff out of the boneyard and helped us out with that. When our class of 2021 had a senior skip day, this spring. Brian actually, without my knowledge, had talked with Missy in the office, and he secured the bus from Cascade, which is basically a coach bus. It looks like a regular yellow school bus, but they turned it into a coach bus. And he was able to secure that for our seniors, so they had a little bit nicer ride that day. It's just that type of personal service, which I think is great. So, it's those types of things. And then we all know LeVay, obviously, and the Eagle Scout leader with his ability to make campfires and chaperone trips and take our students on week-long trips they will remember long after they graduate. And it's just for those reasons they're a true partner. So that's why the group wanted to recommend we go with New Kill for another 5 years.
Thank you for writing that up, Dan. That's
Yeah.
true, and I think everybody here feels that way. We greatly appreciate the community that we feel in our transportation company.
Thank you. I'll move to grant the contract to the Columbia Bus Company for the period from September 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2026.
We have a motion on the table. It's been moved and seconded to approve RFP for transportation to Midco. Is there any further discussion?
Just adding my thanks. There's a bazillion parents that could add their stories to it as well. So like when drivers, give their personal cell numbers out if their kids are out of line, just give me a call and I'll take care of it kind of a thing. So there's a lot of stories. So you guys do good with that. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Midco is awarded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Still want that coach bus next year.
Thank you for being here too.
Yeah, thanks for coming to it. Appreciate it.
All right, item 8E, new hires. Thank you, Sia.
See you. Take care, guys. So yes, we had some reshuffling. We did these during the springtime, but wanted to wait till we had a full slate here. Realized we needed to make sure we got these on there. McKenna Hanson Johnson, who filled in for 8th grade, she'll be doing our middle school science position, but she'll work with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade on that, but she'll also be able to work with our high schoolers with shop and for some of the agricultural classes because she has her ag science degree and CTE endorsement. So she's able to be multifaceted here at our school, which again, with the idea of creating more CTE classes and possible reshuffle of items, that would be something that, we're able to utilize that talent, and we have that built into the schedule for this year. We do have to reshuffle the schedule a little bit over the next couple of days in order to absorb the one loss that we have, but we feel pretty good about McKenna. She had helped out here. She was an employee here with our SPED department, working as an instructional assistant, and then filled in when Mr. Brown left, much to Aaron Henry's frustration.
Oh, darn.
And then Casey Parks comes to us from Idaho. She taught over in Salem Kaiser School District previously, then went over to New Zealand for a year. Oh, I should have said that. Paul was here. But she came back to Idaho and was working on a degree there, a fancy degree at University of Idaho, was actually teaching some classes as an adjunct person this last year. And then is coming back to us. She's from Monmouth Independence area, grew up, went to Central School District, and actually knew Mrs. Ruxigger's daughter, was a good friend of Mrs. Ruxigger's daughter, I guess. Tammy Ruxigger, not Sherry Ruxigger. So she, knew about Perrydale when she was growing up. That's how she heard about the school, and Tammy actually did not tell her about the job opening. She had read about it and thought it would be a good fit. We're excited about her. Chrissy was in on that interview. Aaron, you were too, and we really think she's going to be a really good fit. She will be teaching our ELA classes for 6, 7, and 8. She also is very interested in teaching a few different elective type opportunities. So she has a class she'll be working with our high school kids with the literature component, historical movie part also. And then she'll also possibly teach middle school leadership. One of the classes she taught at University of Idaho was a leadership course to college kids. So we're excited to have her. She's really a great personality.
She'll use the plan too.
She'll use the planner, yes. If not, Alex will crack the whip on her.
I don't think you're gonna use it.
What are you doing? So, and then we also have Brittany Matthews, will be the third grade teacher. We are moving Julia Wilson to fifth grade to fill the vacancy of Lori Jepson. And that was actually Alex Graber who had suggested that during our interview process. And Julia thought that was a really good fit for her. She thought about it and didn't want to commit to anything at first. I gave it a few days and said, yeah, I'm excited about that opportunity and was looking forward to doing that. So Brittany Matthews, who taught at Central School District previously, at the elementary school there, she will be our new third grade teacher. And then Savannah Inns, who filled in for Mrs. Ford after Mrs. Ford came on board on the admin side of things. She would be in the second grade, which was a position she not just finished up this last half of the year, but also student taught in previous to that. I do want to note that Savannah Inns and Julia Wilson now were both student teachers before here at Perrydale, and so was McKenna. So there were a lot of teachers that we worked with previously that, it's not just a comfort factor, but we saw some really great things. And Julia grew up in a household with a mom that was a teacher in Scappoose, et cetera, and just those opportunities. But it was good to see some of them shine and be able to come back and realize this is a place they wanted to be also.
Remind you of anyone?
It does. It does. So, and then next up, Alex Graber switching over to the math specialist. And Alex Graber is going to be sorely missed in that day-to-day middle school. She'll still be working with K-8 math. And she may also be working with the seventh graders on a flex type class last period that also incorporates some math and other STEM items. But she's a go-getter and willing to do a lot of different things. And she came in earlier today and was excited about buying some items for her math specialist and said, hey, I want to talk to you about this math flex or this flex period, seventh period. I'm really interested in helping out with that. I will if you need me to. And anyway, Alex, we always appreciate you willing to do a little bit of everything. I think the comment I made to, maybe it was you, I can't remember, was she'll pretty much take on everything and do really well with it. So I don't remember who it was I said that to after you left, but that was a comment. So thank you, I appreciate it. And then Lottie Breeden, varsity volleyball coach. She's been our JV coach and then was our middle school coach, kind of came up through the ranks also. She has done a really good job being part of our program when we've had success. And I think that working with Denise, she'll be able to do some similar things, but also has some other ideas. When I spoke with her, she knows that she's not going to just try to copy everything and try to bring some of her own ideas to it, but not mess with a program that's worked and just continue to try to build on it. So those are our new hires at this time. And I'll take any questions you may have. Do you have any, did you have one or?
Her question was, can this all be in one?
Yeah.
Is there gonna be a meet and greet thing for the
So
kids?
we'll make sure that we have, first we'll put it in we're gonna do a little blurb. I told you the other day that we'll do something, kind of want to wait till this. And we'll put something out to all the families just saying, here are our moves, here are the changes. And we'll talk about that and the classroom placements. Just because we want families to be able to know. The classroom placements we'll probably put out at registration. But so I don't know if we'll probably send out as an email, but we'll definitely have some registration about it as well. Just about
That they can come and
they
meet
can
them or
come
something.
yeah, so we'll have some time set aside during that first week.
It might be worth just meeting any of the teachers that you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we do have some time K through 6, also that first day to have time to meet in some small groups that they'll be able to meet with the teacher as well. We do have an online session right before lunch, and then we have some in-person sessions as well.
So I'm just thinking of coming back to school full time, right? And there's kind of an anxiety with that, but yet new teacher on top of it, right? So just I know if I even have to get a picture of their teacher so that they can be reminded, or the classroom, because it's calming them, it's easing them, it's having them look forward to going. And I think with some of these new teachers, the parents might even be anxious about it, right? And so coming and getting to meet them and see their classroom or whatever, is gonna go a long way to putting those kids at ease starting up, so.
So we'll definitely have some opportunities for them.
Great.
And then also again
Like
that day before.
introducing them and walking around the classroom and on the YouTube channel.
No, like in person.
We did that on live last year with you
Yeah,
guys,
that
I
was
guess we
great.
do that again.
That's where I was thinking too. It's like, we can
You go
make
on
a
Facebook
YouTube
Live,
video.
I think that was a great resource.
I did too. I'm not teasing you.
What's unique in
What's
person?
a great resource?
When we put on Facebook Live last year,
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was fabulous.
about 20 people I thought that was on there. So,
All right, I move to accept the new hires of McKenna Hanson Johnson, Casey Parks, Brittany Matthews, Savannah Enns. Do I need to say it? Just
Yeah.
Alex Graber as math specialist or?
There you go.
Okay. Lottie Breeden for varsity volleyball.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve our new hires and new positions. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All new hires pass unanimously. And welcome, everybody, and thank you, Alex. I do appreciate it. We've been wanting this math specialist, so I'm excited.
Anytime.
I agree. Alrighty, item 8F.
so resignation of staff. So Erica Willis, last week informed us that she will not be coming back to Perrydale. She's actually leaving teaching. She's going to work at the nursery, her family nursery, and was offered a position there of operations. And she lives on the same property, so it's going to be an easy jump to work. She can have lunch with her kids, and I think she's really excited about that opportunity to work with her family, her parents, and then also be able to interact with her kids when she's at lunch, et cetera. So, Erica provided a lot of stability for us in both our ELL program and also our Spanish program. We had a revolving door there for a while. And I'm going to be quite frank, we had some interesting characters that had applied for positions that we hired for positions at times. And
Characters.
Erica came in and really solidified that and anchored it. And so thank you, Erica Willis. We're excited for you and your family and how it's expanded out there. And we knew this was probably coming at some point. Although I thought she'd just go back to St. Paul and teach. I didn't know it'd be work on the family nursery there. But her family actually had allowed us to come in tour their facility a couple of years ago, and we already plan on doing a similar field trip again. So she put in there, in the resignation that you probably saw. Perrydale's still welcome to come tour the farm again. So, and we'll take her up on that, because if we can get kids out there in the different jobs with the industry, we'll try to couple that together. So.
Right.
And then, yep, go ahead.
Motion.
Move to accept the resignation of Erica Willis.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resignation of Erica Willis. Is there any further discussion? We'll miss her, but I'm excited to see her adventure. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, item 8G, athletic director.
So I had talked with Trina the other day about, just my position, what we have coming up this year with at least the construction projects. And in years past, when we did the contract, we looked at splitting it out, so it wasn't necessarily in there if needed. And we're looking at possibly having Mr. G be the one that is looking to take on that role. I think you have the paper in front of you, correct?
Correct.
So Mr. G was a longtime athletic director here. He was my boss for a long while, and had stopped doing the AD job when we did the switch over with the admin roles, but also that was a time when his son and daughter were finishing up their high school careers and going on to college. And Montana ended up being a setter at Oregon State for the volleyball team, and Gage ended up Eastern Washington had a very great career there, but then finished up at Washington State. And so he just, needed to do the dad duty for a long time. But previously we had a scheduled period there. We don't have that really in the schedule. We don't feel this coming year with the increased PE time and what we're trying to offer for our kids. The last thing we can really do is go backwards with that. But I think Mr. G would do a really great job, obviously. What I didn't put in there is one athletic director of the year for the state, I think twice, at least once that I know of. He doesn't want to talk about it, but I found out. But we have budgeted, I think it was actually $5,700 for that position. But that again is assuming that you're giving somebody a period, which when you look down what their cost is for their salary, and you figure that by 1/6 really, because you have a prep period also, that would be significantly more than the $9,000 that I'm proposing total. Mr. G is very involved with coaching as well, but he's excited about the opportunity to be involved with the athletic program like he was before as an athletic director. So he and I have both thought about this, and when I talked about it, he said, I was wondering when you're going to come talk to me about this. So, and he had said, I definitely would be interested. So we talked about it, and these are the items that we felt were agreeable on what his responsibilities would be. I will still be at a lot of games, obviously, because I've always been there. Even before I was an AD, I'm at a lot of games. My kids are both students here and enjoy being at the games, so we want to support our Peridot Pirates. But my wife would like to see me every once in a while in the evening, so I may not be at every game, but yeah, I believe red and black is it all the time. So, and then also the delegate assembly. So that's just 2 meetings a year that we do, but that's the legislative body for OSA that helps make rules and votes on things. So that would give us 2 voices that are pretty well connected with OSA that could help steer things hopefully a little bit. That would be beneficial for all of 1A, but also for Peridot. So my proposal would be that we have Chris Gubrid with a confidential contract for athletic director, and that it would be for $9,000 for the school year. And then he would not get that period during the school. He still has his prep period, so we can still work on some of that during that time. It may be that he has to do some prep then outside of hours for his classes, etc.
So I'm not finding the 9,000, where's
Oh,
that?
it's $3,000 per season, I said.
So.
And there's 3 seasons.
Oh, there's 3.
Yeah.
You had the, I see, under the responsibilities, that's where I thought there
And
was
it's
only 2.
the overall responsibilities are pretty much the same, but there are some things that are a little different, like complete all winter schedules and spring schedules, prepare for the next school year for 2023. Like in the spring season, that's on there.
Right.
So, so that's why I said 9,000, because it's 3,000 per
Yeah.
season. Sorry, I could have clarified that.
That's okay. I, not being too much into sports, saw the 2 sections and thought there was 2, so.
Nope, that's all right. It's the other one that's stuck on the back.
Oh, goodness, jeez. No wonder I didn't see it.
Excuse me.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve, do we need to approve Chris, or do we need to just approve that there's an athletic director?
I think we should approve the athletic director proposal.
Right, and then, okay, yeah. So, I move to approve the athletic director proposal for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
Who wants it?
We'll let
Go
Kate
ahead.
have it. You guys are
That's Katie's
quick
first
on the
one,
draw
isn't it?
here.
Yeah. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the athletic director proposal for the 21-22 school year. Is there any further discussion? Only thing I would say is that we probably need to make sure that we just send exactly what you have here, and just get a nice contract, clean contract. Because
And then we'll have that and be able to do it for August then, or we have some meeting in between or something, we can do
Exactly. I just think we should have it legally drafted up for us. This is very detailed. I appreciate that.
Sure, yeah, no, we definitely would need a contract.
All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? And the athletic director proposal passes unanimously. And if Chris
Oh my
is
gosh,
still
that's
willing
it.
to do that, please tell him thank you.
You bet. Well, you better say yes.
He said if he's still willing.
Yeah, I know.
All right, item 9, patron input. This is the time for the visitors or patrons to comment on things that did not meet the 2-week notice required to be placed on the agenda ahead of time. Such unplanned comments are limited to 3 minutes per person with a maximum of 30 minutes total. Does anybody have anything they want to speak on? Okay. Item 10, board comments.
So I have a couple written down, just thank you to Troy and his maintenance staff. Reading over his thing, it shows that he put a lot of work into summer camp and making it happen and moving chairs and whatever else happens. And so I know that's some extra work on his staff's shoulders, so I want to say thank you to that. And then just with this athletic director position, I appreciate Dan. I know when we hired him, we wanted him not to have a ton on his plate, and I'm grateful that you saw that it needed to have someone focusing just on it. You've got so much going on, so I appreciate, I think your wife, your family's gonna appreciate that, but just a thank you that putting that together, because I think it's a great idea there, so.
Any other comments? Okay. Item 11, announcements and dates of importance. August 2nd and 3rd is registration. We heard it'll be outside in the outdoor commons area, right? If you need another pop-up, let me know. August 16th is our board work session at 6:30 and our regular meeting at 7. And is there any other dates of importance that we should speak about between now and our next board meeting?
Yeah, that second weekend in August is Polk County Fair. It's the second weekend, actually.
I think it is.
So, that's traditionally been the weekend at least. But, it was much different last year, so if you get a chance, please go support all the kids, but especially if you see some Perrydale kids, whether it's an FFA or 4-H, to say hi. So most everybody here at this table tries to do that, but it'll be good to see them back at it a little bit more this year.
We had a policy committee scheduled for July 28th
Oh,
at
that's
6 o'clock. If that was still going forward, I know it's
Yes.
tentative on that.
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
28th.
We
Tina, does that
got,
work for you?
If I remember, it's Wednesday.
We'll remind you. We'll send a
At 6
reminder
o'clock, you said?
6 o'clock, yeah.
I was ready on Thursday. I don't know what the problem is. I thought it was Wednesday that whole day.
Yeah, I didn't tell anybody
oh,
that.
I hate
I didn't
that.
tell her that.
Listen, when you
She
spend,
she called me the next day, Jim, and said, hey, do you need anything for tonight? I said, sure, it was last night. She was like, what's today?
No,
I
I
said,
do
it's
not
Thursday.
last
She
night.
was like, I thought it was Wednesday.
Yeah, but you believe
when
it
you
the
work
whole
7
day.
days a week and
Yeah.
you're just, and you're not at your computer and everything's about being in the middle of fields and all I care about is northeast, south, and west and the weather report, it's hard to keep track what day of the week it is.
So we'll have that hopefully on the 28th, and then
Will we
we're
have
gonna
the
come with
other,
some policies to
the updated policy?
Yeah, so we have all that we have so far. The ones that came from this legislative session will come out in the fall.
Okay.
But the stuff from this last year, we need to work through and make sure we do that. So we looked at the spring update, and went through those, and then we still need to work on some from the fall.
Which we're gonna try and work ahead of time so that we can.
I have mine all flagged. I'm
Oh,
ready.
good.
And I told Katie if you had any questions about bracketed language and policy, we were gonna call.
Yeah, I'm not coming on the 28th.
No, we couldn't have you now because now we do a board meeting. We can't really have two.
I know,
Oh,
perfect.
You're lucky. You don't have
Perfect,
to-
happy to help, but I will not be there.
They'll sucker you in at some point.
I will gladly hand policy over. How many years now have I done policy? All right, if there's nothing else.
Your work
we-
Your work
Well,
session,
Oh, you?
your next work session you were gonna come back to? For
about
Yes.
hair done.
We're going to have-
Oh, thank
Yeah, we
you.
were ending
We
on
so
laughter.
appreciate you.
I know, right?
We were ending on smiles and laughter, and then Cindy had to remind us.
Thanks, Cindy. No, no, really, thank you.
I think that we should go ahead and try to have a work session. I'm good with next Tuesday and have further discussion on it. 6 o'clock's really early for me.
Well, it could be later. Seriously, it could be 8 o'clock if that's.
Yeah, a 7 o'clock would be much better for me. This Wednesday is just a no-go.
So Katie, you're gone.
No, we're not leaving until the 28th, so.
That's
So that would
the
be,
27th.
that would be the 27th.
27th.
Tuesday, 27th.
Yeah. so I
Maybe
can
the
do that.
27th. I'm okay with 8 o'clock, but is that too late? Should we do 7?
I think it's too late for Amber.
Oh, yeah, she works early.
I like to go to bed at 7:30 once harvest is
So what
over.
about 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock my
On
truck will
Tuesday,
be safely
27th.
back and my phone will be ringing.
So 7 o'clock?
I said Zoom or in person?
In person, if you need to
Yeah.
zoom in, we'll do a special for you.
I'll
but
call you.
Just a work session, okay.
7.
We'll let you do phone calls.
Also, you guys, we are doing our YouTube channel for our school board meetings. So we'll continue to do that for school board meetings, right? But are we in agreement that we're not doing our work sessions on YouTube? Yeah,
Okay.
just want to make sure we clarify that, okay? All right, I have a consensus on that. We have the July 27th and 28th date added, 7 PM and 6 PM. I think that is it. We're adjourning 8:44 before somebody speaks.
Cindy, come on.
And we'll make sure we get you some other chairs next time.
Thank you.
Aaron Henry just said, these stools suck.
They do, they do. I was just thinking about our kids and